Hey, it's So Real family. Welcome to another deep dive for our podcast episode by Pride. And it's just me, it's just Rocqi today, because I am the bi one of the group. So here I am, just giving you a little bit deeper breakdown of just language and just understanding some history a little bit. But yeah, just giving you a little deeper dive of our By Pride podcast episode. Remember to check out that episode on all of our streaming platforms as well as the full podcast video on our Patreon. All right, so let's get started with how I identify. I do say this on the show, but I just want to reiterate for those who are just watching here. So I identify as bisexual, sometimes biromantic, depending on the context of the definition, which I will get into in a minute, and I identify as queer as well. So let's get into those definitions and figure out what the hell they all mean. All right, so this was from LGBTQ Facebook page that I'm getting these definitions, and that was from, I think it's Mrs._gendered, who was giving some of the definitions. I've seen some of these definitions before, but that is the source that I'm getting them from today, okay? All right, so bisexual. An individual who experiences sexual, romantic, or emotional attractions to people of more than one gender, okay? So again, I identify as bisexual because I experience sexual, romantic, and emotional attractions to more than one gender. I specifically am attracted to cis and trans men as well as cis women. I'm open to any other attractions that may come. I just haven't experienced them yet. But I do what's specific about, and we'll get into this when I'm talking about pansexual. Specific about bisexual is gender is more of a factor, not excluding trans, but just being aware of gender in your partner. So it's not to say that bisexual people can't date non-binary or trans people. It's just, you're just aware of it a little bit more. But yes, it is more than one gender, two, bi. But it could be more than two as well. And at the end of the day, it's all about how people self-identify and what that identity means to them, okay? All right, so biromantic is someone who experiences romantic attraction, but not sexual attraction to individuals of more than one gender. And sometimes I will use biromantic just because sometimes both in the queer community and outside of it, people think bisexual is only related to sexual attraction and not to have anything to do with romantic attraction, especially being a woman where sexual attraction to other women is a lot more prominent than romantic or emotional attractions to other women. So sometimes I will specify that, yes, I am sexually attracted to women as well as emotionally and romantically attracted to women, especially because I embraced my bisexuality later in life. A lot of people just have thoughts about that as far as like my experience with women, you know? So I say bisexual and biromantic to indicate that I am both sexually attracted to more than one gender as well as emotionally romantic attracted to more than one gender. But if I'm going based on the definition, I would only need to use bisexual and that would sum it up. But because, you know, connotations do mean things, and culture and language changes, I, at the end of the day, just use bi. Bye. So yeah, let's see. I also identify as queer. So let's get into that. Queer is an umbrella term that describes individuals who aren't exclusively heterosexual. The term acknowledges that sexuality is a spectrum as opposed to a collection of independent and mutually exclusive categories. So it's fluid. Like queer is, it's vague. Like there is no like straightforward direct definition. It's fluid. It's spectrumed. People like the fluidity of it, that they don't have to define themselves, because identity, it's not a black or white concept. We don't have language for all of how we identify. It's the universe inside. So sometimes people are like, no, I don't want to specifically define it. I want to be open to whoever I am. And queer allows me to do that. So I don't have to be specific if I don't want to be. So let's go into the difference between bi, queer, and pan. So let me give you the pansexual definition. Pansexual is individuals who can experience sexual, romantic, emotional attraction to any person regardless of that person's gender, sex, or sexuality. So pansexual is a lot more like, yeah, it's regardless. It doesn't matter how you present. It doesn't matter how you identify gender identity wise. It's just, I'm accepting of all and any. It's not a factor in my dating decisions or preferences or just who I'm attracted to. It's just, I'm open to all. So this, people who identify as pansexual, I've noticed, will say like, I'm attracted to your spirit type of thing. So it's really individualized and focused on that individual person that you're connecting with. So the difference between bi, queer, and pan, they are all related. They are all similar. In fact, there is a new term called bi plus, which is including queer, pansexual, omnisexual. There's a couple other in there, but it's to show that we, in the LGBTQ plus community, it started with B. Like the Q wasn't even there. It started with B to represent the fluidity between straight and gay. But now there's a lot more language around that fluidity, and including queer and pansexual. So bi, queer, and pan are all related in that there is more fluidity amongst all of them. But again, people perceive them differently. They have different connotations with each word. Bisexuality has a history, especially biphobia. Some people aren't really down with that and want to remove themselves from that context. It's very complex in how people identify. So the differences are just very minute and just depending on how a person is perceiving them. Again, pansexual is regardless of gender, sex, or sexuality. Queer is acknowledging that sexuality is a spectrum as opposed to a collection of independent and mutually exclusive categories. And bisexual is you're attracted to people of more than one gender. Okay, so it's they're all related, very similar, a lot of overlap, but people perceive them differently and they get to choose how they identify. So those words mean something to them. I did want to talk about the bisexual spectrum though, okay? So you have the spectrum between heterosexual and homosexual, but you also have the spectrum of bisexuality in itself, okay? Because you could be, like, I perceive myself romantically as a 50-50 split between man and woman. And again, it doesn't have to be just cis, but that's how my attraction, I've noticed, has been. As far as sexually, I do recognize that I am more sexually attracted to women than I am to men. And that split would be more kind of a 60-40 to me. Like, it's not much more. Like, I'm still sexually attracted to men, but yeah, women get a little bit more. So people have a variety of different levels and percentages of attraction, just depending on what naturally fits for them. So that spectrum of bisexuality is very large. Let me see if I can show you a picture of it. I'll try to post this online on our Instagram, but let's see. So I don't know if you can see the words, but that's the idea. That bisexuality is all kinds of levels, percentages, just differences in that specific person. Okay? And they're all valid. They're all valid. And it doesn't make that person any less bisexual just because they have a leaning towards a certain gender, sex, or what have you. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it with that one. I do want to specify, and I did say this on the show, that our sexuality, our identity is not determined by the sex or gender of our partners. I am bi regardless if I'm with a guy. I am bi regardless if I'm with a woman. I am bi regardless if I'm with someone who's non-binary. I am bi regardless if I'm with someone who's trans. I am bi if I'm single, like, and not with anybody. Like, I'm bi. That's me. That's my identity. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's acknowledging what attraction I have within me. My partner does not determine my sexuality. So that's something that I wanted to clarify. All right, let's get into why I'm kind of doing this episode at this point in time. So September is Bi Pride Month, okay? And that's stemming from Bi Visibility Day. Bi Visibility Day is September 23rd. This day is a call to recognize and celebrate bisexual history, bisexual community, and culture, and all the bisexual people in their lives. And then it extends to Bi Awareness Week. So that's celebrated from September 16th through the 23rd, and it's also known as Bi Week. And it's basically, to bring representation and acknowledgement of the bisexual community, because there is a lot of biphobia within the straight community as well as within the queer community, which is ridiculous in my opinion, but it happens. So actually taking time to acknowledge bisexual people in their difference of experience as well as their identity is important, because we all deserve representation, we all deserve validation and respect of who we are, okay? Let's see. Sorry, y'all. Probably edit this out. All right, so the bisexual pride flag was designed by Michael Page in 1998 to give the bisexual community its symbol comparable to the gay pride flag of the larger LGBT community. He aimed to increase the visibility of bisexuals both among society as a whole and within the LGBTQ community. The first bisexual pride flag was unveiled at the Bi Cafe's first anniversary party. Let's see. So the bi-angles, or the bisexuality triangles, are another symbol for the bisexual community. Oh, I don't know why I'm reading that. I meant to just give you the colors. Alrighty. Here we go. The pink color of the bisexual pride flag represents sexual attraction to the same sex only. The blue represents sexual attraction to the opposite sex only. And the resultant overlap color purple results or represents sexual attraction to both sexes. So again, that was when it was created in the 90s. Things have changed as far as the bisexual community, as far as acknowledgement of pansexual identity, as acknowledgement of queer identity. Things have changed, and that's okay. But we still use the Bi Pride flag. As you can see, the colors on my shirt are of the Bi Pride flag to represent that identity. Pansexual people have their own flag. I'm not sure if the queer specific identity has a flag yet. There may be some out there, but I don't know if it's any widely accepted ones other than just associating with the overall gay pride flag. And I use the Philly pride flag, which has the black and brown colors at the top of the rainbow to represent the queer people of color. And then there's also the one with the trans flag on it as well, and that's the cutie POC, queer and trans people of color, because white supremacy be real out here. So let's go into some people of color who happen to be bi or bi plus. And again, just to give you the specific, so this is from the Bisexual Resource Center. Okay, so yeah, in the bi plus community uses bi, bisexual, and bi plus to mean anyone who's attracted romantically and or sexually to more than one gender, otherwise not called otherwise called non-monosexual or middle identities. This includes labels like pansexual, queer, omnisexual, sexually fluid, and more. And even folks who decide not to take a label. So that's that bi plus, kind of putting that bi, queer, pan, sexually fluid, omnisexual, all of those in that. Because it's all fluidity, right? It's just different nuances between them. And that really depends on the person who's using it as an identifier. What was I going to... Oh, yeah. Bicons. All right. So, some of these are from news reports, but sometimes news will identify a celebrity and that's not how they identify, so you got to be careful with that. Michelle Rodriguez, bi. Demi Lovato, fluid. Frida Kahlo, bi. Janelle Monáe, pan. Now we kicking it old school, going back. Bessie Smith, bi. Ma Rainey, bi. Billie Holiday, bi. Josephine Baker, bi. And ending it on a shocker, Malcolm X, bi. Who knew that? And it was actually from an autobiography of a friend of Malcolm X who knew him during his childhood and was able to explore Malcolm X's sexuality in that way. Who would have known that any of our civil rights leaders were in the LGBTQ community? And that's because they weren't advertising that. Homophobia is wide in the Black community, and a lot of that is because of Christianity. I mean, I guess in Islam as well. So, yeah, they weren't trying to have that out there. But there are a lot of civil rights activists who we are well informed about who are within the LGBTQ plus community, and that deserves to be recognized. Black and queer people exist. We do stuff for our Black community, for our queer community, for our Black and queer community. Like, we can't separate those parts of our identities. They make up who we are. And hello, you all watch my show. So I'm definitely about the people, but I'm also queer. And the people ain't always for me as a queer person. So that's kind of what a little bit of breakdown that I wanted to go into for Bi Pride, and I hope that explained a little. I am no expert whatsoever. I'm just 2 years on this journey, y'all. I am still learning, I'm still growing, and it's a lot. But I wanted to break down a little bit more of definitions and just kind of logistics. So I hope you enjoy. Remember to check out the podcast. Remember to just overall check out our content. You know, be having good content. But they are currently doing renovations upstairs, so it's going to get noisy. So I think I should end this now. Yep, they're starting. All right, it's been Rocqi from It's So Real. Take care of you. Peace and love.